Okay. Now I have to wait for everybody to come back.
Yes. Just show it running now. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. See, now you can see it.
Sorry, man.
Not your fault. I don't know what it was. All right. I think we got some people back. Okay. Yay. Hi, Zachary Hammersmith. Thank you for letting me know that it's working now. YouTube just doesn't like me very much. I swear every single time. This is what, my third one of these? There's been a problem every time? Yeah. Maybe it's a sign from God that YouTube is not meant for me. All right, I sent out a push notification, so I'm going to give everybody a second. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I do apologize. Looks like we've got it working now. Thank goodness. There we go. Hey, Jamie. All right. And on top of that, I don't know if you guys missed this at the beginning because I was just kind of talking. I'm also in the middle of getting messages from my ex-husband because he's got my son at the urgent care who broke his wrist at skate practice tonight. So that's fun. So if you tuned into the month-long weigh-in, and my little helper that I had with me, the little blonde boy, he broke his wrist today. So just a little bit ago. My poor little baby. All right, it looks like we're starting to get everybody back. Thank you guys so much. I apologize for the delay. I have no idea what went wrong. As usual with YouTube, I never know what I'm doing wrong, but there's always something. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Danielle England, and I am the tournament director for the Basscast Kayak series. I thank you all very much for being here, those of you who are here live with me, and then the rest of you who are watching this. I do appreciate you all taking the time to go over all of this stuff here in the captain's meeting. I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. It looks like we have quite a few new folks or folks who haven't fished with us in a while that are joining us for this tournament on the New River and Claytor Lake. And so that's really exciting. But then that means that I have a lot of stuff that I want to make sure that I go over. Several of you have already said hello in the chat. If you would just go ahead. If you haven't said anything yet, go ahead and pop in there. Thanks to those of you who have given Kyler some recovery wishes as well. I appreciate that. He will no doubt use this as an opportunity to eat lots of ice cream over the next several days. But Mom, and then he'll hold his wrist, his little broken wrist in his little cast. I know he will. And I will fail at telling him no. So right now we have 21 anglers registered. Now, don't forget that actually you can still register up until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if you have any friends that you think might want to join you, even if they've never fished a kayak tournament before, they are welcome to join us. We would love to have them. Do make sure that you let them know that they do have to watch this captain's meeting video before they're able to put their lines in tomorrow. That's kind of the thing. Just before you launch, before you put lines in, make sure that you've watched the captain's meeting so that everybody knows what the rules are. So speaking of those, let me go to this other page. Before we do all of that, I want to make sure that I take a moment to thank our sponsors. We have sponsors who've provided some really generous items to give away this season. And so we have Bixby Motors, we have Yak Attack, K9 Fishing, Tourney Tag, Drop Zone Tackle, Hobie Eyewear, and Journey Outdoors, who is giving away a new canoe for our Angler of the Year winner at the end of the season. And that is determined by whoever wins our championship. So one of you will be walking away with a new canoe at the end of the season this year. So that's very exciting. We're going to post that up on our Facebook page, and I think they're going to do a video on it that they're going to share with us as well. So we make sure that everybody can see what they could win by the end of the year. So let's talk a little bit about our tournament that is happening tomorrow. It is on the New River and Claytor Lake. The earliest launch is 6 a.m. And I know that some of you guys are fishing more than one tournament tomorrow. Even if your other tournament starts earlier than that or starts at Safe Flight or anything like that, our tournament is earliest launch is 6 a.m., lines in at 6:30. And so usually when you're fishing more than one tournament, you have to kind of take the one that is, I guess, most restrictive, and that's the one that you have to kind of fit within. So if your other tournament starts at first light, any fish that you caught or anything like that, and really even because our tournament says that you are not even supposed to be on the water until 6 o'clock, just because that other tournament says you can, if you're going to fish both of them, you have to try to follow both sets of rules. And I know that that makes it kind of tricky. Our rules are Kbf rules, and that's because the top 3 finishers in points from this tournament trail can go on to fish the national championship with Kbf. And so we have to follow those rules pretty closely. And so because of that, this is what we've got in place. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, there's a reason that we have these rules in place and that we're trying to abide by them. So we want to make sure that you're not in the water until 6 a.m. and then lines in at 6:30. Lines are out at 2:30. So please know that any pictures, I can see the time that your pictures were taken, and any pictures that are taken after 2:30 will not be accepted. Now, that doesn't mean you can't turn them in after 2:30. What I can see when you submit your photos through TourneyX is both the time they were taken and the time that they are submitted. So you can submit them anytime between 2:30 and 3:30, although you can submit them throughout the day, and we hope that you do. But if you're in a place where you don't have signal and you're going to wait until the afternoon, they have to be submitted by 3:30. And then we are going to do our awards at our tournament HQ at Bissett Park at 4 o'clock. The boundaries for this tournament are 25 miles from that tournament HQ at Bissett Park. That does include Claytor Lake, so you can fish there. And so you need to make sure it's your responsibility as the angler to make sure that where you intend to fish is within that 25-mile radius. If you have questions, it's always a good idea to ask, but of course you can also just kind of Google Maps it yourself. And if it's 25 miles or less, you're good to go. So also remember that only public boat launches may be used. Even if your private boat launch is right next to a public boat launch, it's really just a matter of trying to make things fair for everyone. And we want to make sure that everybody has the same access to the river or the lake that you have. And so we got to make sure that only public launches are used. Now, because we have some newer folks, I want to make sure to show you everything that you will need other than, your fishing supplies. But for our tournament trail, again, because we are associated with KBF, we use this kind of bunk board. This is a catch board, and this is the only kind of board that is allowed on our tournament trail. So some of you may have some hog troughs and other boards, and I know sometimes even you go to Bass Pro and they recommend whatever. And they may do that, and other tournament trails may not be as particular. This is required for this tournament trail, again, because of our KBF affiliation. If you don't have one of these, please let us know. We have several folks who have some extras and would be happy to loan one to you. Heck, I have an extra right here. I'm not using it. I'd be happy to loan it to you if you need it. And then I also want to make sure that you know what identifier to use. So this is the KBF identifier card. You can print it on regular paper. You can print it on cardstock. There's a link to this identifier card to print it out on the description for the tournament in TourneyX. You can also just Google KBF identifier. It's the first thing that comes up. And if you're new to this, what you do is you don't need this whole sheet. You need one. So you'll have 8 cards by the time you're done with this, okay? So you cut one out, and then you're going to get an identifier code. You actually should have gotten it at 7 o'clock. Those were released through TourneyX. So you should have the identifier code for this tournament. You're going to write it in one of these boxes. Now, some people choose to write it in every box. Some people choose to write it in a couple of different boxes. You can do whatever you want, but it has to be written in at least one of these boxes. If you're fishing more than one tournament, you can put our tournament identifier in one box and the identifier for a different tournament in another box on the same identifier card, okay? Just as a reminder for those of you, when you are taking photos of your fish, that the hand can be over the main part of the body, not under the gill plate, and cannot touch any part of the tail, can't touch any part of the mouth. Basically, just that middle section where your hand should fit, that's the only place that you can be touching the fish. The mouth must be closed and it has to be touching this end of the bunk board. So I have to be able to tell in your photo that the fish's mouth is touching this end and the mouth needs to be closed. If it is open more than about 1/4 of an inch, and I have to remember, I have to gauge that from a photo that I'm looking at that you've submitted to me. So if it looks to you like, oh my gosh, that fish's mouth was open a lot, I should close it and try again, that's probably a good idea. Because if it looks to me like it's more than 1/4 of an inch open, then I'm going to deduct an inch from the total length of your fish. We also want to make sure that once you have a fish on this board, that I can see at least an inch marker past how long the fish is. So if the fish's tail here goes to 13, I want to be able to see the 14 because the 13 is going to be covered up by the fish's tail. And I'm kind of trying to guess sometimes at, I think that says 13, but I'm not sure. So just make sure that I can see at least 1 inch marker past that, okay? Also, we want to make sure that our photos are taken directly over the fish. Sometimes that might require you to stand up. I know for some of our folks, it requires them to actually pull over, get out of the kayak, lay it down, take a photo, and then get back in, which is a huge pain in the butt. But that is the best way to get a good up and down photo that is not at an angle and therefore distorts the length of the fish, distorts the look of the fish, or makes it so that I can't see the eye, and make sure that we can just ensure that this fish is in good shape and that it's legal for you to submit, okay? We are now allowing basically all species of black bass that exist in our lakes and rivers in Virginia. We had at one point kind of narrowed it down, and then for our last tournament, we added in spotted bass and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, what we learned in adding spotted bass to our last tournament was most people can't tell the difference. So there are actually several different species of bass that we have, Florida bass and Alabama bass and all of that. KBF actually allows all of those additional kinds of bass to be caught as well. And again, I don't think most of us can tell the difference. So don't catch a striper and put it on the board. Otherwise, if it's a bass, if it's a black bass, you can catch it. Largemouth, smallmouth, that's really kind of the identifier that we know, and we all know. And so I think you guys can handle that. I have faith in all of you. Yeah, Jamie says, also make sure your PFD is zipped at all times, even if you have to unzip it to remove your phone. That's right, Jamie. You're so smart. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, so because we do have some new people, I do want to let you know and actually remind some of our, I want to call you old people, but older. No, that's still not right. Anyway, other people who have fished with us already but maybe forgot that there's a registration form that is required. In addition to registering on TourneyX and paying your fee, there's a registration form on our website. It's a Google form, won't take you that long to fill out, but it's basically also a release form. So we have emergency contact information if something were to happen to you. We also have a release of liability, which of course is very important for our business. So we want to make sure that you have completed that. I'm going to have to now go back and copy all the links and stuff that I had put in the description for the first video into this one, but the link to that will be in the link to this, in the comments to this video or the description of this video once I get it up. And then when we put it on Facebook or whatever, I'll make sure that it's in there too. But you can also just go to the schedule page on thebasscast.com for the kayak series, and you can find the link to that there as well. Please make sure that you have filled that out for tomorrow morning. Also, while you're there on thebasscast.com, in addition to filling out your registration form and checking out what other events we have coming up to make sure you can come to all of them, please make sure that you look over the rules. I know that especially for our new folks, 30 pages of rules looks intimidating. If you fished KBF tournaments, then you should be pretty familiar with the rules because that's where we got ours. But we just want to make sure that everybody has had an opportunity to review them, ask any questions about them that you might have, but before you fish. Doesn't do a whole lot of good to have questions about the rules and then ask them later after you've already broken them. And so we want to make sure that everybody's having a good time and everybody is happy. And the best way to do that is to make sure that everyone's following the rules. So please make sure that you have reviewed those thoroughly. Now, the last thing also is that I just need for you guys to check in and out on Tourney X. So once you're on the water, check in. Once you're off the water, check out. There should be a little button in your app for you to click. And that just lets me know that you're on the water and then again that you're off the water. If you choose not to come back to the check-in or the awards ceremony that we're having there at Bissett Park, that's okay. You don't have to come back. Heck, even if you win, you don't have to come back, although we'd love to see you. And we'd certainly love to get a picture of you holding our big check if you're going to be getting some money. But we understand that people have a lot of things going on, and we know there are other tournaments going on in the area as well. So you don't have to come back, but you do have to let me know that you're no longer on the water so that I can be sure that you're safe. So please make sure that you check in and you check out. If you don't come back to HQ, that you can send me a text message or a Facebook message and or an email, whatever it is that works best for you, to let me know, hey, I'm off the water, I'm good to go, but I'm not coming to see you. And I'll cry a little, but I'll be okay. And then last but not least, if you would just either comment here. For those of you who are watching this recorded, you can comment on the YouTube video, or you can also comment on the webpage and on the Facebook page to let us know that you have watched this, because it is required for every angler. I want to make sure that I have a record of who has actually viewed the video. So for those of you who are here live right now and have already put stuff in the chat, that suffices because I can see your names, and that's fine. But for those of you who are watching this later on today or in the morning, I'm going to need you to make sure that you let me know that you've watched it as well. All right, I think that was all the things. Does anybody have any questions? I know you're not still mad, Jamie. And I'm glad that we can joke about it now. I'm not seeing anybody with questions. I'm going to give it another second. It's going to be so nice out there tomorrow, you guys. I'm actually a little bit jealous that I don't get to go out on the water. So if you don't have signal in the morning so that you can't do the check-in, from what I'm hearing, that's probably not likely to be too much of an issue. Most of the people that I've spoken to about the locations for this tournament have said they feel like pretty much everywhere has signal. But if that's a problem, then sometimes you can get a text message to go through when you can't get something to go through on an app that's internet-based. And so then you can just shoot me a text instead, and I can manually check you in. Anybody else? Oh, hey, what's the number to text? That's a great question. I don't actually remember my phone number. Hang on a second, I'll tell you. What is my phone number? Somebody else can probably tell me my phone number faster than I can look it up. All right, I'm gonna find it, and then I'm gonna put it in the description with everything else. How about that? Can I do that, Adam? Does that work for you? Sorry about that. All right, thank you. Somebody's calling me. All right, y'all. I guess that's it if nobody has any questions. So again, I appreciate you all being here with me tonight and suffering through the technical difficulties this morning or earlier. Well, I don't even know what time it is. I'm so tired. Anyway, I really appreciate 8-inch minimum, Adam. It's an 8-inch minimum for our tournament trail. And the only time that changes is if the lake itself has a different minimum. Oh, okay. Well, and Anthony, if there's going to be several of you together, one of you could text me for everyone. So, like, if somebody does have enough signal to send a text, you can text me and say, Anthony, Mark, Aaron are all in on the water, and that's fine. And I can manually check in all of you. That's fine. All right, everybody, best of luck to you. I hope you have a wonderful day on the water. I hope you have a very safe day. And I hope that you have a great time. No matter how the fishing goes, I hope you have the best time. If you need anything or you have any questions, you can email me at basscastkayak@gmail.com. And you can also text me or call me at the number that I'm going to put in the description of this video because I can't remember what it is. This is my life right now. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.